In the first season of Prime Video's hit superhero show, Soup Show, the battle lines were drawn between two main factions, the Boys and Vought, but Season 2 significantly expands upon this with not only divisions from within these groups, but entirely new collectives with their own agendas and superpowers to rival the Seven. One such collective is the, Church of the Collective. Led by Alistair O'Dana, the Church invites members to renew their lights by signing over their bank accounts and putting complete faith in the collective's self-improvement courses. Through them, and only them, can you squash your past misdeeds and achieve your dreams. Well, that's what they would have you believe anyway. Through the eyes of the Deep and later A-Train, we see how the Church pulls you into its twisted web by preying on your most deep-seated personal issues and promising all of your dreams and desires will be made tangible. What is the ultimate goal of the collective? We're here to take a little deep dive into the Church to find out. But before we delve into all that, where do we find the Deep at the start of Season 2?
You're so alone. You're so goddamn fucking alone.
After Starlight went public with his assault, the Deep was promptly ousted from the Seven and sent to Sandusky to remain firmly out of the spotlight. Just about everything he did in Season 1 was a gigantic screw-up. Hell, he couldn't even save any aquatic animals.
Wait.
We left him in a state of self-loathing, and that's continued in the interim. When we find him in Season 2, his alcohol-soaked rampage of mild disturbance through Sandusky lands him some time in local jail. It's here he's bailed out by...
Want a fresca?
So this is Ravenwing.
Eagle the Archer. Out of Cleveland, we met like 5 times at BotCon.
Eagle the Archer, sorry. He's a member of the Church and a Z-list suit, to be honest. Archers in comic books receive their fair share of mockery from characters in-universe, as well as from the readers and fans. Their seemingly obsolete abilities are scrutinised, and mainstream superhero discourse can't resist doing a skit about it.
Now, Hawkeye, it's time to do your thing.
I'm out of arrows.
So it's perfect that an Archer soup in the Boys universe would have an identity crisis.
Then you start to question, like, fucking arrows against Tech Nines.
It's so sad to watch this guy snap out of the Church's indoctrination for a second before falling back into the safety and comfort of their brainwashing.
But I came to see that archery isn't irrelevant, it's timeless. It's a pure and ancient art.
Eagle actually appears to be a good guy with a kind heart. He reaches out to the Deep and gets him to confront his demons. He's supportive, decent, the perfect sucker to send in first to allow the Church into the Deep's mind when his guard is down. Poor Eagle. He doesn't even realise he's a pawn in this game. Eagle gives the Deep some shrooms, and it isn't long before he's tripping in a room all alone talking to his gills.
Bro, we gotta talk.
In a neat little cameo from Patton Oswalt, the Deep's own gills communicate with him, bringing his deepest, darkest, most buried personal realisations to the surface.
Because that's what you do. You imagine women will laugh at us, so you humiliate them first.
No, that's not true.
You can't accept your own body, so you violate theirs.
In perhaps the show's weirdest scene, the Deep's gills try to restore his crippling self-esteem through the power of song.
You are so beautiful to me.
The Deep is one of the hardest characters in the show to make sympathetic, but like Homelander, the show does an excellent job of showing us why these self-absorbed super celebrities are the way they are. Even though his epiphanies were provided by a sinister group, it genuinely seemed like he wanted to get help and restore some shred of humanity. But we quickly realised that the Deep's changes are only skin deep, motivated by fame and greed.
Hey, dude. That's not cool.
He's so desperate to get back into the Seven that he will literally do anything and say anything to get there. Any shred of dignity he had left, he offers up in the vain hope that he can buy his way to redemption. If Eagle is the good cop we send in first, Carol is decidedly the bad cop. She is a far more controlling presence, and her time with the Deep is spent moulding him into a new rebranded entity. Carol dictates every move he makes as part of his rehabilitation.
But this marriage isn't about satisfying your base desires. It's about rehabilitating your image and getting you back in the Seven. That is what you want, isn't it?
The Church carefully construct his new image to transform him into a daytime television dream. Wholesome and palatable.
Well, she's only saying that because I make her breakfast in bed, so...
Oh,
French toast.
He thinks he's turning over a new leaf, but really, he's still using women, albeit in a new way. He only wants the woman who describes herself as willing and subservient, but will settle for anything so long as the church agrees to increase his popularity.
You know, Kevin here has had some issues in the past, but people grow. And if you could see the letters that he writes me, I mean, you would know what a beautiful soul he has.
Oh, thank you.
He's more than happy to give out books to the starving.
They said there'd be food.
Well, this is food for your soul.
And go on talk shows than do anything that would actually help people. In fact, he's only seen once in the whole season doing anything that could be called superheroing. In a cool action sequence, we see just how potent the Deep's powers can really be as he stalks the boys on the waters. Although, predictably, he screws this up. And it's here where we start to see what the Deep can do for the church, namely bringing in more supes to increase their hand at the bargaining table.
I see what they're trying to do to you. Yeah, talk about getting ass fucked with a soup can. Am I right? What do you mean? I mean, come on, if anyone knows what it's like to get bounced, it's me.
A-Train gets an unexpected taste of the church when he sits with Stormfront on the set of Dawn of the Seven.
That place used to be pure. And then they just started letting all kinds of people in, you know?
It's clear he would want nothing to do with a bigoted and close-minded cult, but that doesn't mean they can't help him get where he wants to be. He's also found himself faced with being fired from the Seven, and he's very low on allies at the moment. The Deep, now of the same objective as Eagle, sees an opportunity to help ensnare his old teammate.
Who's up? Would you like a fresca?
Now, A-Train isn't nearly as gullible as the Deep. He sees from the very beginning what the church is and why it wants them both. So rather than getting suckered in, allowing his insecurities to bubble to the surface, A-Train plays the long game. He knows they're using him, but he's okay with that so long as he can use them. This isn't nearly the same position the Deep is in. The Deep is in deep with the church. I'm sorry. It's not long before the Deep introduces A-Train to the very head of the church.
Fresca?
Adana has both the friendly edge of Eagle as well as the stern gusto of Carol, making him a highly persuasive and powerful man. For Adana, every conversation is a negotiation.
I've seen that documentary about you guys. It's not my type of shit.
For a man in seven-figure debt, a heart condition, and in heavy withdrawal, do you really think you have the luxury to get up and leave?
To top it all off, after all that loyalty to the Church of the Collective, after bringing the Deep into their ranks and in turn A-Train, Eagle the Archer is excommunicated by Adana and dropped completely.
He's a toxic personality and no church members are to have any contact with him whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, no, now that you mention it, he did seem pretty toxic, yeah.
The Deep just bends here. What an absolute tool. That guy was probably the kindest and most genuine person you met in this whole crazy cult and just sold him up the river.
French toast.
It also tells us everything we need to know about Adana. Eagle was easily led but clearly a well-meaning person. To suggest he was a toxic personality in an effort to banish him from his social circles shows how the church leader can oh so easily bury those who challenge him.
They're gonna give Shockwave your uniform, you know that? Call him the next A-Train.
No, they can't do that.
Why not? A-Train is a trademark. You are just another nobody from the south side of Chicago.
Adana makes an excellent point here, and one that you perhaps might not have considered in the boys' verse. Sure, these characters can be replaced by Vought, but it is a step further to take away their soup identities and give them to new employees. Once the soups sign up to Vought, nothing belongs to them anymore. This is arguably twice as affecting as it would be for a regular superhero with a healthy, normal, non-superhero alter ego. At least they would be able to go back to being Bob Parr, or Dan Drydenberg, or Clark Kent. A-Train, much like the rest of the Seven, has made his soup identity the only one that matters anymore. He can't go back. Not to mention, the last time he reverted back to his alter ego, the only time in Season 1, he was profiled for being in a shopping mall. The stakes are always higher for A-Train because of his black identity.
I can get you back in. But first, sit down. Let Deep tell you his truths.
At the end of it all, the church helps the soups succeed, and they both see themselves reinstated back into the Seven.
I'm sorry, Deep, but they only had one slot.
So they took him?
Fuck yes, they did!
Awkward. In a darkly humorous twist of events, A-Train gets to rejoin the Seven, sans the guy that got him there in the first place. Ironically, it was actually the Deep that got accepted back in first, and Stan Edgar didn't want to add in any more than one soup.
One has-been back is
redemption. 2 is weakness.
But more importantly, Vought wanted to keep Stormfront happy. A-Train plays his best hand, stealing the church's records on their ex-member and leaking them. A-Train squeezed Stormfront out of the Seven by unearthing her Nazi past, and at that point, he's far more valuable than the Deep. A speedster or a guy that can talk to fish. Hello, the Deep is a pawn, but A-Train is a knight. A-Train dipped his toes into the church. He used them just as much as they used him. He never got caught up in their lies or allowed himself to be indoctrinated. Somehow, after getting canned and belittled across the entirety of Season 2, everything's coming up.
A-Train! What's up?
The Deep, on the other hand, he had a chance to improve, he had a choice to be better, but instead he bought into the lies, he allowed himself to be a pawn of the church, he expressed zero loyalty for the person that reached out to him with genuine affection, and he did it all just to get back into the Seven, a self-absorbed goal that says nothing about the people he hurt. The Deep finally snaps, and for once, he tells the truth.
I did everything you asked, and when I found out that we're all just fucking space boars, I didn't laugh. I did everything you asked.
Adana does the same thing he did to Eagle the Archer. Facing criticism and dissent amongst the ranks, the leader, in his infinite wisdom, decides it's time for the Deep to be designated a toxic personality. Although really, Adana could have made that summation from the moment they met.
Fuck Fresca.
I'm very intrigued to see where the boys takes the Deep on his journey into Season 3 and beyond. Surely he'll break away from the church, and maybe it's time to give up on the Seven. He thought he had hit rock bottom before, but now even the creepy weirdo cultists won't take him. Ha! And what of Alistair Adana in the church? Well, I think... Whoa. So that's the head exploder. Interesting. As I said at the start, new factions started to emerge from the shadows in Season 2, placing us in a very exciting position for Season 3. Congresswoman Victoria Newman is a gender swap of Vic the Veep from the original comics, but he was a bit of a dum-dum, and the show has already proven that she is far more capable. It will be interesting to see why she has been protecting Vaught's secrets while simultaneously flogging them. I mean, at the same time, she could also just, drop dead in the first 10 minutes of Season 3 as much as she could become the next major antagonist. This is the unpredictable nature of the boys. One thing we can count on is that it's only going to get more complicated. The Seven is more divided than ever before, the church will continue to rise and likely indoctrinate more soups to add to their repertoire, Vought is bound to have far more tricks up their sleeve, and Huey might just find his loyalties strained. I, for one, cannot wait. Thank you for watching another Prime Video essay. If you like The Boys, then why not check out our other videos, from dissecting A-Train's celebrity athlete life, to Homelander and Stormfront's relationship, Starlight's morality, and a deep dive into how the show lampoons superhero cinema. You can catch it all here at the Amazon Prime Video UK YouTube channel.